Any plans? Anything on the agenda, Rav? Do you have anything upcoming? Anything you're deciding? Any new videos that we should be planning on? You've been putting out some political videos. That's nice. Change of
Yeah.
pace.
I've been trying to transition slightly, not dropping religion. I am just as involved in politics as I am in religion. And I think that for those of you out there who are also politically inclined to a certain extent, teaching and learning about religion is the best platform for that, because it helps you solidify your values before you can properly understand what's going on in the world. And I actually think that now every preacher, imam, and rabbi should take some time of his day out to contribute to politics, because what's the point of teaching religion and making people religious if it's not going to affect the way they behave in the world? It's not just like an extracurricular activity being religious. It should personify who you are and how you behave. And this isn't a sales pitch for the right. And if you're a leftist, then put that into practice. But your beliefs have to impact society. That's the whole point of being religious, because making the world a better place is a team effort. Like-minded individuals working together. This whole notion that there's riots in the streets and there's all this lockdown because of COVID, and these rabbis are still just teaching things that have nothing to do with this planet. Mysticism and magic, fairy tales. When the politicians are failing to do their job, it's the job of the religious people to step up, and square people away. As a matter of fact, it's a job of religious people to become politicians. But that's my take.
Caleb?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Rabbi if he tried to reach out to Dennis Prager for an interview.
Well,
Ooh.
I actually used to work for Dennis Prager. I was one of the founders of Prager University. I guess people don't know this. I was the head of the Israel Dennis Prager group when I lived in Israel. And I was their first web developer. I volunteered to get the project off the ground, and I ran Prager University for around 4 years for free out of Israel till they got enough of a backing that they went with a whole media company. He would call our Prager group meetings, a Skype meeting in Israel. I think we had it once a month in Jerusalem, and Alan Estrin is also a friend of mine. What we would really discuss, he grew up Orthodox. I encourage people to buy his Rational Bible and listen to his Torah classes. The guy is brilliant. He's not fully observant, in my opinion. And if I would ask him anything, I would really see why he put Rabbinic Judaism to the side as much as he has. It's not really his fault. Most people don't understand Judaism the way we teach it on this show from a rationalistic
You only interview people you disagree with?
Well, not necessarily. I try to interview people who could educate my audience as well, whether they agree with me or don't agree with me. It would have to be someone who has a great knowledge in religion, that whether it's Christianity, Islam, Judaism. But the goal is not for me to bully people around. It's not really that type of interview. I'm not trying to get someone's life story. I'm trying to get a dialogue going so people could learn quicker. I think that people learn the best when they hear two people discussing back and forth. And I think they learn the most when those people happen to disagree. And that's why we're having the show, because I want people to come with a different perspective. And I'll tell you, 20% of the time, I wouldn't even engage in trying to convince the person, because I'll be like, you have a valid point. I have a valid point. I just happen not to agree for whatever reason. I don't always have to win. But that, I think, is what makes a good interview. When both people are convicted in their beliefs and come to a stalemate that they happen to respect each other's beliefs because they ultimately can't disprove them because of gray area. Like, okay, it's allowed because there's no final authority nowadays to not allow things that are not in halakha and not in the Torah.
After a halachic conversion, what books would the rabbi recommend? That's from Jacob from the outside chat.
Sure. Chumash, obviously, 5 books of Moses. Put the prophets aside, put the writings aside. 5 books of Moses, Mishneh Torah of the Rambam, Sefer HaMitzvot of the Rambam. And that is really it outside of Jewish history. Okay, Jewish history is so important. There's a book that I recommend. It's actually not written by a Jew. Paul Johnson, The History of the Jews. He covers everything there. He's not out to kiss the butt of the Jews, I'll tell you that. But history it's really a must. And even religious history, understanding the history of the rabbis, of the Mishnah, the Kabbalistic rabbis. And then you start understanding where all our concepts, when they arose in Jewish history, which will keep you from falling into any cult. If you know groups like Chabad or the followers of Shabtai Tzvi, when they arose and what ideas they brought to the table, you're able to get a clearer view of what authentic Judaism is and what came later on whether you want to follow it or not. I identify myself as a modern Orthodox Jew, and I define modern Orthodoxy as doing what's required and considering what's optional. That means you could consider other stuff. You could wear a black hat and a long coat and just feel that that's okay for you, but it's not mandatory for someone else. So Jewish history is very important. On my website, TorahJudaism.com, I have a whole crash course in Jewish history series by Ken Spiro for free. You can listen to it there. There's 30 classes. Just type in Ken Spiro under the audio section. And it's 30 classes, about an hour each, and it covers everything. Everything from the Haskalah to Zionism to Jewish communism, everything. It covers everything. That's what I recommend. Now, in terms of books that I don't consider as things that carry source material, I like the 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism from Dennis Prager. That is a book that I think gives you a good overview of Jewish life, not necessarily Judaism, Jewish life and thought. That's pretty much it. Everything else is a free-for-all. Study as much as you want. I try to stick with things that actually deal with source material because most people listening to me right now have come late to the game. We weren't born to religious families, Orthodox families, and we didn't go to Cheder and Talmud Torah and all this stuff, so we don't have the luxury of wasting our time studying too much Kabbalah, mysticism, the Ramchal. We have to deal with source material, things that actually carry weight, like halakha, Jewish history, Chumash. And then on your free time, you could put a little cherry on top of the cake and study Masilas Yesharim. But people who only study mysticism, they're not going to have anything to talk about on a Shabbos table when people are trying to get authoritative concepts from your brain. They're trying to pick your brain to see what you know of Poskim and Mishnah, Gemara, this and that. So that's what really carries weight. And that's really what we should delve in. If you guys would master halacha, I'll tell you, you guys will know more than 99% of all the rabbis out there. Because really, 99% of all the rabbis out there really aren't worthy of the title rabbi, because the job of a rabbi is to give you the halacha, and that's it. You guys are like life coaches. Fine, I'm more of a life coach anyways. I have smicha, but the job of a rabbi is not to give advice either, unless he's giving you advice on what to study. If you would master Mishnah Torah, and the reason I encourage Mishnah Torah, there's clearly higher degrees of halacha study, but it's the best place to start and even end, if that's okay with you. It covers all of halacha in 14 volumes. That means everything regarding halacha is in Mishnah Torah. And if it's not in Mishnah Torah, and you see people doing it nowadays, it was probably invented later on, and it's not from a Mishnaic source. That also exists all in English, so you guys don't have to buy any books. If you go to Chabad.org, all of Mishnah Torah is there. If you study 1 chapter a day, you'll be done in 3 years. If you study 3 chapters a day, you'll be done in 1 year. It's so great to have all these tools at our disposal. You guys never have to buy 1 book. Everything, the Chumash is online. Mishnah Torah is online. Sefer HaMitzvot is online, which is very important too. Actually, Sefer HaMitzvot used to be part of Mishnah Torah, and they sort of split it in 2. This is why all Mishnah Torahs start with the enumeration of the commandments, but they leave the explanation out. But it's important to know how to view the commandments from a rabbinic perspective, although they never really depart from their literal meaning, but it's important to see how they apply on a rabbinical level as well. That's why Sefer HaMitzvot is important.
Someone out there in the comment section, Millennial Biker, says Dr. Henry Abson is also a really good person. He's a YouTuber. Actually, I think he's a rabbi out in there, Los Angeles. I think that's where he is.
All right.
Yeah, I think he does some really good stuff.
Millennial Biker, what kind of bike do you ride? Let's see if he
let's see what we get back from there. Let's see who else we got out here.
Yeah, I'm a biker also.
Someone was asking you what's your favorite Tanakh, and you put out there the NIV. That's the new international version. They puked they gave us a little emoji puke symbol.
That's actually not a joke. That's actually not a joke.
You're trolling us, Rav?
I despise Jewish translations of the Bible because they're very dishonest. And people don't know this, and typically people who rely on Jewish translations don't know enough to challenge them. As much as there's errors in the Christian translations, there's probably 10 times more errors in Jewish translations. Why? Because they'll go by what Rashi says the pasuk says instead of what the pasuk actually says. And sometimes what Rashi brings down is not even there. Sometimes Rashi is using a medrash to tell us what the pasuk really means, even though it's not in the Peshat. That's very problematic. Of course, people like Tovia Singer is not going to tell you these things when he's arguing, if he even debates anymore, when he's trying to teach a Christian something, but it's very dishonest. It's very dishonest. There's a lot more errors in an art scroll in a Gutnick edition than there are in a Christian edition. Okay, if you want a Jewish edition, you can trust the JPS, the old JPS, not the new JPS. But that also, there's a lot of preconceived notions that are brought in that translation. I guess if you want a literal translation, what? There's a Young's translation. That's also, I think, a Christian translation, but it's a literal translation. And that's probably the best way to understand it because there's so many different ways. I was discussing a few weeks ago on the word ra. So the word ra is typically understood as evil. It's translated also as calamity and discomfort. They always use the word evil in areas to push some sort of metaphysical concept of God creating evil. There's things that doesn't sit well with me regarding Jewish translations. And it's typically because they use the Meforshim too much instead of saying, no, we're just going to translate it literally and let you decide what it means. No. It has to be what Rashi says or nothing. Heck, I mean, Rashi didn't have Rashi. The Rambam didn't have Rashi. Now, even if you go to a Sephardi bookstore, you can't get a Chumash without Rashi. It's not right. But anyways, the NIV, it's because I appreciate how they try to put everything in the common language. And I think we know now what areas to look out for in Christians' translations, but we don't know regarding when they use Meforshim to translate the Chumash into English. So
I have a question. Are you familiar with this translation? Just a minute. I'm trying to get a video of it, and I bought it at a Chabad store in Portland, Oregon. All right, there you go.
Yeah, the Gutnick edition is done by Rabbi Chaim Miller. It's a nice.
Yeah, it has a lot of commentary, a lot of Kabbalah in it. But what I found was it doesn't have. It was just like what Rabbi Asher was just saying. There's a lot of additional midrash as if it's written. I was reading it for a long time when I realized they were sneaking in their actual beliefs into the verse.
Right.
And I was thinking, well, wait a minute, this doesn't even follow the Hebrew. Right. And it was listed within a verse. There's a lot of addition into the actual text.
What do you think about Art Scroll? I honestly try to stay away from Art Scroll personally because I find the translations of Art Scroll to be very I mean they add a lot. I mean, you want to talk about adding, they over embellish a lot of the times.
So the Gutnick does something that bothers me even more. They have illustrations that people would think it's part of the Chumash. Look, if you're translating a Chumash, there should be nothing in there that's not authoritative because people start quoting it. Before you notice, they're quoting what you wrote, and they're thinking this is what the Chumash actually says. So regarding the menorah, they have a drawing in the Gutnick of the Chabad menorah. Right? Now, there's no source anywhere it says that the Chabad menorah is the correct menorah. Outside of some drawing that the Rambam drew, and people think that the reason he drew it like that was to show the bulbs on the menorah, not to actually say this is how the menorah looked. A Chabad menorah has V's, right? Instead of the egg-shaped menorah, they're like V's. So in the Gutnick edition, it says that it brings down the belief of Chabad that one should even correct or basically throw away children's books that have the menorah drawn differently. That this is the only way to draw menorah. I mean, you don't put that in a Chumash in the section when they're building the Mishkan. Okay, it's cool. Like if you're a Chabadnik, people who are coming to Judaism, Bal Tshuvas are reading this stuff. A Chumash should just be the Chumash alone. We don't need commentaries. That's it, just the Chumash alone. Now, clearly, if it's translated into English, it's going to have some understanding, some preconceived notion of what those verses mean, because there are some verses that are ambiguous. So this is why there should be some sort of Jewish amplified style Bible, where it has every possible way. I mean, it's probably going to be 5 times the size of a Chumash nowadays. But the goal is to find
they have that digitally. Don't they have a digital Strong's Concordance of the Bible you can get on your computer? It's like has everything you could possibly ever want in the Bible. Every translation.
Strong Blue Letter Bible online.
Blue
Yeah,
Letter
no.
Bible. Thank you. Yeah, that was what I was thinking of.
Strong just defines the word for you, but it's not gonna.
But they had like every commentary, every translation, everything you could possibly want in this application on your computer.
Oh, that's every Bible website has the King James, the RSV. But
What do you think of the Koren Hamish? Am I pronouncing it right?
yeah, Koran.
Koren.
Yeah, the Koran Chumash. I know all their books are very pretty. But
I don't like their sitter. It's like very hard to follow.
they just came out with their own Talmud. I don't know enough about it. I mean, it's not very popular. Most synagogues don't have it. They're pricey. Art Scroll and I guess.
A lot of the modern Orthodox synagogues are now using Koren sitters.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, very good. I have to go. I'm always I like my trusty Chabad Siddur my phone. I think it's very good. I go with that. That's what I like. And of course,
No, your Siddur.
I have my everything. I have the Chabad version. That's the one I like.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. If you have a community, here, look, if you're davening in a Chabad, I encourage you to use a Techilas Hashem, Nusach Hariyah, whatever they use, just because what if they call you to daven for the Yamid and you're used to davening from a Yekes Siddur or something?
I love the Chabad Siddur. I love it. It's so good. I love the Chabad Siddur.
It's easy to follow. It's easy. It's a nice, easy translation.
I mean, I don't think it looks so pretty. I'm into pages looking nice. I think the Art Scroll takes the cake for pretty Siddurim and Chumashim. It's very pretty.
The only thing I use the Art Scroll for is there's a prayer after candle lighting that the Art Scroll has that no other sitter has. It's one that where you pray. It's right after candle lighting. It's one where you pray for your children and like your grandchildren. It's just for like women. It's like you pray for like your generations and stuff to like do good deeds and learn Torah and everything. And I always pray for my children after I light candles. It's like a paragraph long. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful prayer. And only the Art Scroll has it.
Is it on their ArtScroll app?
I'm not sure, but it's in the sitter. You can find it right after the kindling the lights or whatever it's called. I believe it's page 297.
So someone on the Facebook, on the YouTube chat is asking, so is Art Scroll bad? I'm not saying any of these things are bad. Trust but verify. Don't walk around saying that this other translation is garbage, and this is what many people who are new to Judaism do. Just because they come from Christianity, they feel they have the right to make fun of Jesus and Mary and anything that looks Christian. That's definitely wrong. But you have to weigh things out. There's some things in Christianity that are not any better in Judaism. This is why I said NIV, because I don't want people thinking that because they have a Christian Bible that they have to throw it away, right? If anything, tear it in half and keep the Jewish part, because it doesn't differ that much. I mean, it's not such a huge, in terms of narrative, I think the NIV does a great job in making it appealing to a modern generation. But like I said, I like the old JPS, but it's pretty archaic.
Yeah, it's like you're reading it. It's like almost like reading Old English in a way. Let's see what we got here. We got something on the YouTube. Terry says, go online to Sephria. Has a living library. Yeah, I do recommend that website. Very great stuff. I think, Rabbi, don't you have something up there translated?
Yeah, I translated the first 30 chapters of Yoredea in Shulchan Aruch, which is the laws of slaughter. Also, chapter 267, the laws of slavery. I think that's it. Yeah, and a few of the Rambam stuff, like a few little halachot. But yeah, it's a great thing.